Hello, my friends, hello, and welcome once again to Stately Von Manor, where Roger and I have returned. We've returned. I've actually returned. I just got back from the Rustic Von Lodge, where I spent a few days up there. And I got back, and, usually when I get back from the lodge, there's lots of blood stains and maybe some corpses I have to clean up because of somebody, but Roger, this time everything seems to be fine. Everything seems to be fine. I can't seem to get any of the staff on the phone. That's unusual, but I'm sure they'll just show up at any time. Wilkins, my valet, is still around, though. He's still hanging around. He still has his allergy to sunlight, though. He can no longer work during the daylight hours. And he does look a little pale. But, the upside is he's starting to look younger. Have you noticed? He is starting to look a little bit younger. It's weird. But Wilkins is still around, so I guess everything's all right. But today, Roger and I are here because it's time to talk about a grim milestone. A grim milestone in the 500 book challenge. So the 500 book challenge, if you are unaware, is the challenge where I have to read 500 books that I own before I will buy any new ones. I can't buy any new books for myself. No. I have to read the books I already own until I read 500 books. And this ridiculous challenge is based on the Read What You Own challenge, which was created by CriminOlly, basically as an incentive to read the books you already have and maybe not to buy so many books that you don't need. Basically, because I'm an idiot, I thought to myself, I've got thousands of books. I should make it a 500 book challenge. That's a good idea. So, yeah, I did that. I'm a genius. Anyway, the grim milestone is that I have, what am I at now? I'm at 100, I've read 126 books in this challenge, 126 books. And it's taken me about a year and a half to do that. It's taken about a year and a half. So obviously I need to pick up the pace. Yeah, obviously I need to read a little bit faster than I'm doing. I've come to realize one thing that this challenge has really made me realize is just how slow I read if you compare me to, anybody else on BookTube almost. Most booktubers, they read super fast, every week. They're like, hey, here's the 35 books I've read this week. Woohoo! No problem. Or, they do their monthly wrap-ups and they're like, here's all the books I've read. Let's go through the 60 books. No, I'm not one of those booktubers, unfortunately. So, yeah, I read slowly. So I have made some alterations to the challenge as it's gone on. When I first started the challenge, I exempted graphic novels and comic book collections because, a lot of those, I collect those basically. And a lot of those, if you don't get them when they come out, you're just not going to get them. And the main thing I collect is Marvel's Epic Collections, Marvel's Epic Collection line of reprints, and those are magnificent. And so I exempted those. But as time has gone on, I've realized, you know what? I'm just buying more of those. So I do have a ton of those I need to read, a ton of them. So I decided to include graphic novels and comic book collections, with the exception of Epic Collections. Epic Collections are now the one exemption to the challenge. I'll still get those, just if I read them, I won't count them if I didn't own them before the challenge started. I did have a lot of pre-orders for upcoming books that had not been published yet when I made that decision, but those final books that were pre-ordered are kind of filtering in now. And so it looks like the end of my comic book collection. Well, the end has arrived for that, with the exception of Epic Collections. But that's fine. That's fine. At least it was fine. My last video that I made up at the lodge was all about DC's new line of Well, they're basically doing their own line of epic collections called DC Finest, which is something I wanted them to do for years, almost a decade, really. I've been wanting them to do their own version of Marvel's epic collections. And DC's reprint line has sucked so badly. And it's like, this is the one thing I think that could really fix it. And they're finally doing it. They're finally coming out with their own versions of epic collections. And I can't buy them. I realized that as I was putting together my last video. It's like, oh, it's so exciting that DC's coming out with these books, and I can't get them. Damn. You know, I knew something like that would come, that something like that would happen in this stupid challenge. You know, and I guess I could make an exemption for these, but I can't really. You can't do that. Can't be like, oh, I am not buying any books except for the books I really want to buy. You know, I can't do that. It's a challenge. I mean, the epic collections I was already collecting, and I was kind of invested in that, so I had an excuse. I don't really have an excuse for these, so that sucks. That sucks, Roger. Yeah, it sucks. And I'm sure there will be other things. You know, there are certain books that if they would ever come out with them, it would be tempting. Like if they come out with a new hardcover set of Robert E. Howard's works, they won't. But if those came out, that would be tempting. Or if they came out with a lot of Michael Moorcock's books that are not Elric, if they come up with some nice new hardcover sets of those, you know, that would be tempting. That would be tempting. But you know, whatever they come out with, I'm screwed. I can't buy that stuff. I am stuck with the thousands of books I already have, which was, I guess, was the whole point. It is a challenge after all, which means it's supposed to be challenging, and it has proved to be so. So, yeah, it's rolling right along. 500 book challenge, and I've gone too far to stop. That's one of the grim things, you know. I've gone too far to stop. You can't get a quarter of the way through, which isn't much, I realize. But you can't get a quarter of the way through and say, you know, heck with this, I'm going to quit. At this point, you just got to keep going. You know, you just have to keep going. I just have to find ways to get through Bix. I have to get through Bix quicker. I have to get through books quicker. I can't speak. I haven't had my coffee yet. Because I don't have a staff. I don't know where is the staff, Roger? Somebody should be making my coffee right now. I'm going to have to make my own coffee. Jeez. Bad enough I have to get up before dawn just so I can get dressed because my valet is unavailable otherwise. But now I have to make my own coffee and I have to read all of these books so yeah, it's still going to be years before I'm done with the 500 book challenge. Still going to be years, but I'm going to try to read faster than I have read this past year and a half. Obviously, I do have to find a way to pick up the pace. I have to strategize. We have to do a strategy session, Roger. It's important. Anyway, yeah, so that's how the 500 book challenge is going. I just thought I'd make this dumb video to waste your time and talk about my 500 book challenge. So there you go. Still going. Still going to keep going. Quarter of the way through. Yay! Yay!